Well, I did it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And so Judy, let's say this. Nothing there.
You know,
I'm talking about. Sure.
Good morning, everyone. Morning, good morning.
Morning.
I'm here. Hi, apologies for running late. That's very crisp. Welcome to the September 4th council agenda. As was announced last month, Dave Smith has resigned from the board or from the council. And I've inherited since I was the vice president. We'll go over the roles and everything in a few minutes of the new council. But just to also let you know tonight, or not tonight, this afternoon, 2:00 in the bank, Sue Close from the health center, who's the activities director, will be interviewed by Natalie. So please do attend. It's been interesting.
Margaret is the house.
Oh, that's not the note I got. Okay. Anyway, Margaret, sorry.
It's quite all right, Natalie can do it if she. Don't mind giving up.
Yeah, that's the information. Okay, today we will have, Michelle will be coming at 10:30 and she'll cover many subjects. It is time, please do keep your remarks to 3 minutes. To open ears, first session, raise your hand. Yes, Lynn, hold on a second. Yakov, would you hand the mic?
I was wondering about committees. It says in the handbook that the council chooses the committees. And going to various committees, I see that getting on the committees it sometimes varies. The length of time that the chairman of the committee serves and so on. Are there individual bylaws for each committee, or does the council indeed choose the members and so on?
The bylaws state that the council will approve members to the council committees. And if you have looked at the new agenda, you'll see that I've broken that out. What are council committees, which are benefit, dining, financial review, health center, physical plant, grove, sustainability, and Woodland Pond Board are council committees. Those are directed by this council. And yes, and members are selected by the committee and given to us for approval or denial, but usually just approval. Residence committees are basically run with the intention that they have a purpose to serve. Their committee members are selected by them because they know who they need. Generally, we don't have to approve them. Okay, so that's the way it works.
So the council committees, is there an intention that the members should vote on a new any new members, or is it just the chairman who chooses those people?
It's up to the chairman on how he runs that committee.
There's no time limit on the chairman, just,
Well, no, we've not enacted a term limit. We would like to maybe
Right.
start thinking about it, but, okay? Thank you.
Michelle suggested that we could approach people who are doing the handbook revision. I think there are 7. I have not seen a list of who they are.
Yes,
I will be reporting on that later in this meeting.
Oh, thank you.
okay,
That's a quick response.
yes, you see, well, on the agenda, you'll see there is a
We
new,
didn't get it.
It's posted in the mailroom and the library.
Was it
Wasn't in the
yesterday?
mailroom.
No, it wasn't.
it wasn't,
Yes, it was.
no.
No, I looked in the mailroom.
It was
And it's
yesterday.
gone. I put it up there that night,
Who's good on
Monday night.
All right, there is some phantom has taken the agenda that was put up Monday. There was one put up this morning, Harry came to me and said there was. Okay,
Well, somebody must have gotten the link, because I see people there, but I did not get the email, and I checked right before I came.
okay,
Right, I didn't get it. either.
Wait, I got the email and it only had the link, not the agenda in my copy.
okay,
So it came in 2 seconds before I wrote that.
all right, so I'm starting off on a real good foot here.
Which one?
By the way, these roles are all voluntary. I could go out that door real quick, but we'll get this all corrected next time, okay? All right, any others? Okay, thank you, we'll go into council session. I need an approval of the minutes, of 8:21. Last minute,
So moved. Accept.
Second.
second. Any discussion? The note from Ollie apologizes for the, last minute of it, but all in favor?
One piece of discussion. About minutes, if any of you are on a committee, make sure they get the minutes to this council. Some of them aren't getting to us.
Well.
No, we never.
Okay. All right, I'm going to table the approval of the minutes of the association meeting of the 27th. Secretary needs some time to consolidate those, so we'll table them until the next meeting. Communication received and sent by the corresponding secretary.
None. Oh, I just got this morning, sorry. Right, we've got the slate of our residents, from the nominating committee. Should we?
We'll accept that, and then the chair is here to present that when it's her turn for the council or for the committee reviews. Okay. Old business, just so everybody's aware of the roles. I'm your president, vice president is Larry. Recording secretary is Molly. Correspondence secretary is John. Everybody else sort of stays the same. We might have to adjust, and another announcement is as of Monday the 1st, Kathy Kelly has resigned from the council. The meeting we were having earlier was discussions on how do we get back to our allotted 9 members. That discussion was in executive session. We'll be announcing results of that next meeting or very shortly. Okay, the other thing, the other day, Michelle made a very excellent presentation on the legislative updates. She did a quite deep dive into it. There's a lot of information. If you haven't received or gotten a copy of all the information that is generated for CCRCs and for Wilmington in particular, to go see concierge or Lindsay, she'll give you copies. What I wanted to be sure that people understood is the way I've left it with Michelle is if there are any changes that materially affect the legislation, she will announce that and then report to us on it. So it's not gonna be it's a standing item, but she'll generate it, so we don't have to keep asking her, is there any update? When it happens, she'll let us know. So that will go on. Okay, let's do the council committee review. I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm going to ask Sue Gilder to address. Okay, we need to give you the microphone. Yakov, could you pass Sue the microphone?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Sue Gilder and I'm the chairman of the nominating committee. And I was asked to be here to announce the slate. We have some terrific people. We have Margaret Ninehouse, John Ortner, Yakov Pittman, Ina Paparoff, Tom Rocco, and Fred Walensky. And you'll get to meet them all at Meet the Candidates Day, which is October 8th at 3 o'clock in the PAC. You'll get more information about that.
You mentioned something about voting will take place.
Yes, the election is from October 10th to the 14th. And we've got accommodations for absentee ballots if you're going to be out of town.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? Yes.
Is the policy still in place that people can? Is the policy still in place that nominations can be made at the floor of the meeting?
Where's the policy? What policy?
Where is the policy? It's the long-standing policy.
I have looked for it. Show me the policy. There's no policy.
There's no policy, but it's been done.
That's tradition or things, but right now, there's no policy.
Are you going to be accepting nominations from the floor?
No,
I don't know. It's not my decision.
when you say the floor of what?
Of the
Of the
Meet the
annual meeting?
Candidates meeting?
We can have self-nominated from now until then. We've asked, we've had it out there for people.
All right,
No, I asked you a question.
there is no policy.
I'm asking you.
And she just said she'll accept self-nominations up until the meet the candidates. And I think we have to close it at that point. I think it's only fair to the residents, they know who they're voting for and their backgrounds, okay?
I'm just asking a question.
Okay, I think that's the answer. Yeah. Okay. Concludes that. Any other discussions from the council? Okay, let's start real quick with the benefit fund.
It hasn't met yet, nor has Rove, nor library and art.
Pardon, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, dining, June?
Here. We met on Tuesday and, first of all, thanks was given to the resignation to Bernice Hummel, who served on the committee for many, many years and has now resigned. The new containers, which are clear plastic or white plastic, will be phased in as soon as the old ones are sort of used up. I don't know quite what the time frame is on that. The s'mores was a big success. The new menu cycle will start, I'm gonna give you this ultimately. The new menu cycle starts on October 18th. On the 19th of this month, there's at 11 a.m., there's the kitchen tour, and people are encouraged to go to that. The survey was sort of 50-50. They will pay attention, and they'll keep at least half of the big sellers on the new menu cycle, and then there'll be some new entrees from the Sodexo list. Lindsay is setting up for the Jewish holidays. Any suggestions would be appreciated. There will be a Sweet 16 celebration on Thursday, September the 25th, from 4 to 8. Reservations will not be required, and there will be food and dancing, but it won't be as sort of elaborate as it has been in the past for some of the other celebrations. There was a request for the weekly soup menu, that it should be on show so people know what to expect. And there was request for milkshakes in the pub, which he says they will try and do that as soon as they get new equipment. Another person suggested there should be, on the surveys, there should be much more in the way of multiple choice for favorites. She felt that the survey wasn't really very useful. And those were the main highlights. I'll get that to you. And then sustainability met on the 27th. There's a new format for that meeting. It'll be now similar to the council. There'll be an ear session at the beginning. Anybody attending can say something. Then there will be brief reports from each of the sustainability task forces. And then after that, one task force will give a report in depth. So at that meeting, the Alternatives to Grass gave a report. They're continuing the pollinator gardens. The beds are doing quite well. And there was a trip to a pollinator garden in Gardner, which was quite impressive, and gave us some ideas about how to do it. The no pesticides will continue for this full year, and then reevaluated next year to see what the results were. Oh, and then we ended early because of the Resident Association meeting, so it wasn't, very full discussion. We'll continue next month.
Questions?
Okay, June, thank you. There was a financial review yesterday. Key aspects of the meeting, it was a very good meeting for a lot of attendance. I think, would you say 20 guests attended besides the council or the committee itself. It was a quick review of the financial flash report for July. The metric that we always track is days cash on hand. It was low to budget by 114 days versus 129, but turns out that was an anomaly due to the fact that in July there were 3 pay periods, and that takes away from the cash. But we're still on track. We're back over the requirements of the budget. There's also discussion on the wait list. We're now still at 68 people waiting to have occupancy here. And we also talked about the occupancy of the facility, where 206 in independent living versus 207. And that the health center census shows that skilled nursing's at 99%, assisted living at 89%, and Garden View at 90%. It was a very good in-depth discussion. I'm not gonna cover it here because it was very in-depth, covering what that means and what is involved in it. Then there was another question raised from previous meetings on the health center capacity as it relates to our increasing the capacity of our apartments. And Michelle explained in great detail that the capacity is determined by actuarial studies and the Department of Health and Financial Services. And that once we have our programs in place and what we want to do, they will take a look at that. And the meeting concluded, I think everybody was very appreciative of the detail. And our next meeting was noted in the meeting that was October 1st. That's not correct. It's Monday, October the 6th at 1 o'clock in the art studio. Any questions on that? No, art studio.
Oh, art studio.
Yeah, I'm financial review. Any questions on financial review? Okay, okay. All right, let's do Carl Health Center.
The health center met August 26th. Jill stated that Kitty Mitchell has resigned as recording secretary and Kathy Tim will take her place. Health center tours will begin again September 22nd, and will be held on the fourth Monday of the month, each month. Bill Mill stated that Sarah Motherway has been selected as a replacement in the social work department. She'll be ahead of it, I believe, and will represent, somebody else will take her place as primary activity staff. Sarah Motherway is a fantastic activities person. Now they're moving her up to be social work. I hate to see her grow, that's why I'm saying that. Bill stated that there were vacancies in both the CNA and LPN, different degrees of nursing. The staffing is very hard everywhere. He is optimistic that hiring will take place once the summer is past. The aquarium in the HC lobby is now operational, and there are new fish coming soon. And finally, Peter Roberts noted that the garden maintenance in Garden View is very much better this year. And he also praised the new lighting that they've done in the hallway there. That's that.
Any questions? Okay.
Should I go ahead with the physical plan?
Sure.
We met just yesterday. Smoke alarms in the new cottages are still sending out false alarms. They need new heads for the system. And they keep expecting to have them, but still not yet. The interesting issue of timing on the street lights, people were asking if after 10 o'clock, could they be turned off? And then we'd still have the bollards to light the walkways, but it would be nice to be able to see starry skies again. After talking for a while, it was decided that we might try an hour of dimming the lights and see what happens. But Tom has to look into whether the bollards can still be on while the lights are off. There was a question of some people talked about maintenance workers who were seen sitting down somewhere, not going to work. And Tom talked about, he feels he's getting a week's work out of his people. But then he equivocated a little bit. He said, don't go to the committee if you have a complaint about what somebody's doing, go directly to him. Renovation work on the building is still scheduled to begin at the end of October. Tom is looking to replace the shingles on the buildings. He thinks they're approaching their useful life. And he wants the architects to look into all the possibilities of what we should be getting now. And finally, there is a blue light program, which means if there is an active shooter or any urgent need for a lockdown, the blue lights will go off. This program, he said, has been adopted in the schools and at the college already. He's looking to see blue lights in front of every door. And he said that that program will probably cost about $30,000 to complete. So he's not quite sure when, but it's underway. That's it.
You say that the blue lights will go off or will go on?
Concierge will push a button and the blue lights will flicker.
Will go on.
Mel, what did you just say?
No reports from Welcome or mental health and wellness.
Harry?
These are the lights. No report to the board because they have not met. The next report would be due middle of this month. So, and let's see, also land conservation. We have not met since our last council meeting.
Welcome. Perfect timing. Larry just finished.
Great.
The floor is yours.
Hey, everyone.
Well,
Morning. Let's see, I wanted to just give a few updates. Before I do that, does anybody have anything for me on any of the topics that we've covered, either in the legislative review or on my addresses or the finance committee meeting or anything yesterday? Yeah. We are, let me go to the list. All right, so we are at the point now where the policy on speakers is ready to be issued publicly. So this has been through legal counsel, two sets of legal counsel and the board, and the policy is set. So I'm gonna just kind of explain what the gist of the outcome is, and then we'll figure out the proper way to get the policy issued. It's definitely going into the handbook revision. But the gist of this is that we're going to be liberalizing some of what we're doing in terms of resident ability to hold what I would consider to be things that normally wouldn't be compliant with Woodland Pond policies. So for example, if you wanted to have a Democratic forum here and make posters or whatever, that's going to be something that we're going to begin permitting based on legal counsel review. The issue is that there's a revenue ruling from the IRS that says, to the extent that we allow that kind of thing to happen, no Woodland Pond resources can be utilized in the holding of those things other than providing you space. So we can provide you space for those things, a room, if you request it. But if you want to have the meeting, we cannot use our resources for anything related to that. So you can, it cannot be published in the newsletter. You can't use our photocopier for your things. It can't go on BraveNet, so you'd have to announce it, you know, grassroots or invite people individually. So the policy, as you will see, references that revenue ruling so that folks can see the citation and understand, you know, what's restricted and what's not. So we're excited about that in a way. I mean, obviously it causes some complications because if you decide you're gonna have something and it can't be advertised for, you're gonna have to figure out how you do that. We are going to provide space on one designated billboard, bulletin board, not billboard, that would be a little too much. Yes, we're taking sponsorships now, on a bulletin board, but you can't put things in the cubbies because that violates the non-solicitation policy and those kinds of things. So it also explicitly allows for the existing activities of the Political Affairs Committee, which does allow for candidate forums and those kinds of things. It specifically allows for that. And we have simplified the process for the signing of the forms acknowledging our rules. So everyone that either organizes or presents any public gathering or public speaking event is going to have to sign the form. Employees, residents, guests. It'll be a one-time signing. You sign it once and then it goes on file for life. Until or unless the policy or form changes. So you won't need to sign it every time, and the form will be totally administered by either Carrie or Lindsay. So if you're having a speaker come in, they will handle making sure that they sign the form. The form is more simplified than what it was. It really just explains that, you know, as a 501(c)(3), it has the exact specific language from the law about not being able to participate in, intervene in, et cetera, any political campaign. It talks about if you wish to have the event published and use any Woodland Pond resources, then the event is subject to the compliance policy for community gatherings, which is what the new policy is called. It explains that hate speech and threats of violence are never okay. They're expressly prohibited in any public areas. And that's a hill I will die on. So, and that's not a political thing. We are not going to tolerate hate speech or threats of violence. We're just not going to do that. You want to do that behind your closed doors, that's between you and your maker, but we're not going to allow it. And that's not new. We're just codifying it. It references the non-solicitation policy. It does say that we do allow folks to have a sale of things or solicit funds with express approval, and we just need to understand the mechanism for that. So if you're gonna accept checks or Venmo or credit card or whatever it is, so we will be issuing this. I feel good about it because I think it accomplishes some of what certain residents are wanting to do, which is to have the opportunity to have space here on campus to do things like this. But Woodland Pond has to be very much hands off on it, and none of our resources can be utilized, and that it tied directly to that IRS revenue ruling. So I'll stop there and then take some questions.
Using resources, does that imply that we would not be able to use the computers or PowerPoints, or if something goes wrong, call Jason to fix it?
Correct. So it's specific to just the space.
Right, so we couldn't use the computer at all, couldn't use the screen at all?
No.
Really nitty gritty, can I use the mailing phone list to contact people?
Well, that's yours. So I would say. I would say that I can ask legal counsel if that's a problem. I would say that I would not see that as a problem, but I will ask legal. And I'll double check with legal on your question too. Because it does specifically say space, but there's no point in me not asking if the questions arise.
What's in the space? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We definitely couldn't ask for technical help. We wouldn't do the setups, you know, you would just have this space, you would have to, you couldn't have the mics. But, well, I'll ask about the mics, but it's gray, that part of it's gray, but I will ask the question.
Chair setup.
We will not do that. You can do it, but it would require staff time. That one's clear. That one I've seen clearly delineated.
Is there a possibility to look at what you are going to put up before and comment, give you feedback on that?
So this
Because
is,
just as an example, I mean, it's perhaps ridiculous, but if we are in this room and you have the lights on, we are using Woodland Ponds resources.
no, but that's specifically allowed for.
No, and the other thing is, right now, we do not have, other than by the initiative of people, just having a mailing list. So you say we cannot use and make an announcements in BraveNet. And my understanding when BraveNet was put up is that it would be for the use of residents on a variety of things. Now you say, well, we cannot announce it on BraveNet. Not that BraveNet is so wonderful because I don't know how many people use it, but we need to have a channel where we can advertise, announce, you know, do all kinds of communications,
Yes, but
including sending material for people to read before a meeting.
right, you definitely cannot use BraveNet. That question came up specifically. So you could, I will ask the question about the mailing list. And if the mailing list is an option, then you can send it to people. But we also have a non-solicitation policy. So what our attorneys have said, the best thing to do is have people know to go to the designated spot on the bulletin board. Because you're running the risk, if you just randomly take the list, you're running the risk of potentially violating the non-solicitation policy. So I'd be curious to see what the resident council thinks on it, but the non-solicitation policy, it pre-exists this policy. And certainly we can discuss whether or not folks think that that still needs to be there, but there was a strong sentiment that residents wanted a non-solicitation policy when it was adopted. Because basically, as it says, you want to be able to live free from harassment or solicitation, basically. So you'll have to figure that out, but we specifically asked the question about using any kind of electronic portal, not portal, or an electronic forum of any kind, and they indicated if it's hosted on your Woodland Pond website and it's Woodland Pond coordinates it and takes care of it and manages it, then that's absolutely a resource that cannot be used. So, I mean, you all have individual emails, your email addresses are here. But I think I will ask the question about using the mailing list and then asking the question about how that can, you know, either conflicts with or is in keeping with the non-solicitation policy.
There is a difference between solicitation and sending information that people can access. That's not the same. I mean, sending information, besides that, putting on the bulletin board is really a step backwards from what we have been talking about for at least 3 or 4 years. That this is really restricted, it's limited, people don't see it, and so on. And that's why the initiative about BraveNet came about. What we didn't expect is that BraveNet would be monitored by management and say, well, you can say this, you cannot say that, you cannot announce this, and so on and so forth. So we need to have a resource that is freely available to the residents. I mean, we can talk about that. We may have to do it outside of Woodland
I
Pond.
think, if you want something that is not going to be overseen by us to make sure that we're not conflicting with any laws or regulations, then you'll have to do it outside of Woodland Pond. I mean, we ultimately have laws and regs that we have to follow. You don't have to follow those, but we do. So there's some level of monitoring that we have to do with anything that uses our resources, but I'm sure one of you can figure out a forum. And then if people want to join into it, they can do that. And maybe that's more of a conversation between you and the residents council, but that's clearly a Woodland Pond resource, Woodland Pond provided resource.
Okay. Any other?
Any other points of clarity? So this will definitely be distributed. What I would suggest is after it's distributed, if you have questions about either enforcement or implementation, to let me know. And I'll put it with a cover letter and we'll get it out to everyone. But the board and legal counsel have signed off on this unanimously, so I don't expect that the contents are gonna change. I do think that there are nuances like we've talked about here that we need to get the answers to. That's more enforcement and implementation and doesn't necessarily need to go into here. But it will help us navigate and figure out, you know, what we have. So let me just make sure I write those questions down. So one was about like the technology in the space. The second was the phone list. Were there any others that come to mind immediately?
Electricity?
No, that one we know is, it counts. You can be in here with the lights on and the heat, and we're even gonna let you have the heat and the air conditioning. The one question that did come up was, well, there's two questions that came up, and the attorneys were kind of split on it, because we're using two different totally unaffiliated firms. The question was, the use of the photocopier in the library. And technically that is a Woodland Pond resource. We provide the copier and the paper. So there was a question about that. I'll revisit it, see if I can get a solid answer. One was, what?
We use newspaper on the other side.
Yeah, I know. But one attorney was very clear that they absolutely cannot use your photocopier. The other one was much more liberal on it. The other question was about if you decide that you want to purchase refreshments from the dining room with your declining balance plan, or you know, charge up, is that allowed or not? And they were split on that, so I will try to get a solid answer. I mean, I think you're purchasing that with your resources. Yes, we're providing the food, but you're paying for it, so I'm not sure it's as clear.
Question, microphone. Michelle, if someone is hosting a political, possibly controversial meeting in their apartment or in the cottage, they don't own their apartments or the cottages, so what is the decision on that?
So that actually is explicitly described in here. And I didn't say that, but it says residents are encouraged to do what they wish in their own homes, being mindful of existing policies in place at Woodland Pond. So, you know, this does not restrict what you do in your home.
I remember a situation a few years ago where your husband saw an ad for a political meeting in a cottage, and that was not allowed. What is the difference? The political meeting was for the community, advertised in the community.
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look back. I vaguely remember the circumstance that happened. I thought the meeting was actually here.
It was in support of a political candidate in someone's cottage, and it was advertised outside, and your husband said to you.
Right, I remember the circumstances, but I don't remember what our conclusion was on it. I'm gonna have to look back. I know I have emails on
You
it.
got very angry, I remember that.
Yeah, there must have been something specific to it. Maybe it was invitations went out to residents individually or something. I don't remember what it was, but we did talk to legal counsel about it, and I know I have notes on it. I just can't remember off the top of my head. That was like maybe 8 years ago. I don't remember everything.
Yes, you
I
do.
try.
So I'm very new to this, but my question is, what about use of all of the outside grounds? What if a group had a tent and wanted to put it up on the outside grounds? Could people do that? Is that okay?
I will ask. Okay, so I mean, you'll all see it and then you'll probably have questions, but you know, so the opportunity will be there. And Jakob, if you wanna look into some kind of an unmonitored listserv, feel free. I mean, that would be between you and your neighbors. Okay. speaking to the handbook, we have a great group of folks, and thank you to everyone in this room that is participating or online that's participating in the handbook review. There are a few kind of what we ended up doing, and I think I might have described this on my address on Tuesday. Rather than going through every single of the 80 pages, we really worked through the table of contents to identify those policies that we felt really needed resident review and feedback on. So it's some of the things that really kind of always make the highlight reel, like pets and private duty aids and who can eat. I don't know if we did who can eat in the dining room, but you know, some of the more basic stuff, like what are the components of the emergency alert system? You know, that stuff is pretty basic and management is going to handle those kinds of things. So I do want to thank everyone. You will see this policy will be going in. A new policy related to mobility device use will be going in. A policy related to the use of e-transportation will be going in, which is e-scooters, like electric scooters, electric bikes, related to use and safety and storage. We're doing a close examination of private duty aid policy, meaning on the management side, and then, you know, pets always comes up. And to the folks that are involved, we have gotten pet policy responses from 4 communities so far. I don't know how many we'll actually get them from, but I'm gonna be forwarding over those pet policies to all of you. I also got some anecdotal information from a couple of them when they send their pet policies over. And one has a dog park that they recently installed and was raving about it. One had a dog park and took it out because it was so problematic. So it's just not just RCCRC that has like, but as I was telling Tom, Woodland Pond is much more liberal with our pet policy than most of the communities. Things that where it seems like we're an outlier specifically, at least in these, is allowing pets on any floor above the ground floor. Where pets can go to the bathroom, meaning a lot of them disallow pets being able to go to the bathroom by any main entrances because it kills the grass. Very consistent in terms of disallowing pets in common areas, no pets on furniture. That's a theme that goes through a lot of them. Most of them have a restriction on the size of the pet and certainly the count of the pet. And one goes into great detail, like it says, like 2 birds, 2 turtles, 2 this, and then unlimited fish. Right. So anyone that wants a turtle, you can have 2. So I'll be sharing those around, and if there are any other policies that you want me to collect from others. Oh, and then Kennel on Hudson doesn't allow pets at all. So I know everybody's holding them up as a beacon of, you know, freedom, but they don't like pets. They'll send a bus down to Washington, but they won't let you have a pet.
In New York City, we interview the pets.
Well, several of them have that. Several of them have a requirement that your pet is subject to an application and an interview.
What about not English?
Yes, non-English speaking pets. That's a good, I didn't see that in there, but.
Only a French poodle.
So, you know, we're happy to share anything, and you know, I'm really excited about this handbook review. I don't really have anything else. I know that doesn't seem so great, but.
Michelle, in 2 Chanticleers ago, you started off with saying that you're looking into the identity of Woodland Pond. What are our values? What do we want? Da, 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 da. And I'm wondering, are you going to address that to the community?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad that you brought that up. Tom and I chatted about it this morning in our pre-meeting meeting. So what this is prompted by is a couple of things. It's primarily being prompted because once I get the chief operating officer in and the operations departments will be handled by someone other than me, I'm gonna have the ability to really start putting my emphasis and effort into things like strategic plan, more visionary things, you know, big picture things for Woodland Pond. Where are we going? Where do we want to be? and not just the bricks and mortar kind of stuff. What's important to us, what are our priorities and so forth as a community, because I don't think we have enough of those kinds of discussions. But it really made me think, we need to really start figuring out what do we want our identity to the community be. And I will tell you that I had made the decision, and some may object to this, but sometimes I make executive decisions, and this time I did. We have contracted with Timely Signs to remove the language on our vehicles that refers to this being an exceptional life. It doesn't mean it's not gonna be replaced with something else, but as time has gone on, that was a catchphrase that was adopted here by a marketing firm many, many years ago. And it's not something that I really gave much thought to. But then as I really started to think about, like, what do we want the public face of Woodland Pond to be? To me, exceptional seems sort of elitist. And I do think Woodland Pond is exceptional, but I don't think that the description to the community, that's the right thing. So the question, as I realized that, then I said, well, what is it then, right? So we know we're exceptional, but what is it that makes Woodland Pond distinct? If you had, and I use this example with Tom today, if you had 10 CCRCs lined up in a row, and everyone did all of the core CCRC things as well as Woodland Pond does, what's our distinction? What do we feel makes us different? And it's not just about, providing the meals and the housekeeping and the access to the higher levels of care. What is the catch? Like, what is it about our community that we feel is who we really are? And, for those people that visited multiple different CCRCs or maybe have been to another retirement community and ultimately decided to come to Woodland Pond, what was it about the community that really drew you in? And I hear time and time and time again, this place is so welcoming. The minute you walk in the door, you feel welcome. The people are amazing. Maybe it's something around that theme. But I think that's much different story than exceptional. Because I think exceptional is an exclusionary term. And whereas I think that the way we really feel is welcoming and belonging. So I want to just think about that. And I want to think about how do we capture that in our public facing identity, but also then make that whole thing be something that we really build on in our strategic planning, in our programming, in our identity. So before we can build on it, we need to really kind of, as a community, determine what it is. So I don't know exactly what the forum is yet to have those discussions, but again, for those of you that are talking about it over dinner, now you can more fully explain my thought process on this. I also had Shannon scrub the website and remove any references to exceptional and extraordinary. And we've replaced it with some other language for now, just temporarily, like the place where you belong or something like that. So it's more, a little bit different language. I don't know that that will necessarily stay, but we wanted to leave something in there. But I did make the decision to remove the reference to exceptional off of the vehicles. So I'm happy to hear any opinions on that.
Will you open it up to a Q&A? When we
Oh,
have that?
if that's, whatever you all think is the best way to have the discussion. I could have this be part of my discussion at the next management Q&A. I really just want to start thinking about this, and I don't think it's something we're gonna just sleep on and wake up the next day, but just so that you more fully understand my thought process here. We know Woodland Pond is great, but what do we want this community to be? What do we think it is? What's our distinction? Just, food for thought.
Perhaps part of the discussion could be a contest where people write what some of the adjectives should be.
Yeah, Tom actually suggested that. And I'm gonna be open to any way that we want to handle this. There's an app or a program that you can ask the question And I don't know if any of you have seen it, but I've seen it in multiple places, but most recently when I took my daughter to college orientation. So you scan a QR code and it puts the thing on your phone. And it asks you, what's your number one reason for going to college? And it gives you, 4 different choices or whatever, 6 different choices. So everyone puts in their answer, and then the one that is the most shows up biggest on the screen. And then the words that are repeated less are smaller. And it's just kind of a big mosaic of, so we could do something similar to that and kind of even do open form, and let people kind of answer that. And then we could see like what are the most often repeated phrases and things, and just kind of see, because it would show like a bigger on the screen and then smaller for the things that were repeated less. I think there's a lot of ways we could capture it, but I think it definitely starts with a discussion. But I also think it starts with being introspective to kind of think about what do we see as our distinction.
Timeline.
I don't know. I don't have like a real set timeline. COO is gonna hopefully be starting in October. We can have a discussion, and I'll be making an announcement about that probably next week. We're just finalizing a few details. So I don't wanna let it drag on forever, but I think it's something that needs thoughtful evaluation.
For a couple of weeks.
I mean, we'll do a discussion at the management Q&A in September. And then we'll talk as a community about where we wanna go from there.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? Perfect time.
Okay,
30
great.
minutes.
Definitely. So good.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Having me.
See you next month.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, where did we leave off? I think we did all of the council committees. Well, the task force, well, that was sort of updated by Michelle.
Larry, you said you have the name.
No, it's nothing more.
Name's supposed to be asked for.
Yes, Halima, to answer your question specifically. The members of the task force, and you recall, these are all people that volunteered. And I think there was a sign up at the concierge, anyway, however it worked, I must have been involved, because I'm one of the members now. Fred Walensky, Evelyn Rosenthal, Art Geller, Margaret Nyhouse, Marilyn Malou, Ida Breyer, and yours truly, and we, the committee, chose Fred as the chair. We had our first meeting at 9 a.m. On Tuesday, and we made a start. We sort of had a general agreement as to how we would proceed, and we've made a start going through the handbook, which is 71 pages now, and we recognize that there will be contributions from the management group similar to the resident group, but there will be during the process, there won't be any as I understand it, any cross fertilization or whatever term you want to use. But at some point, it'll all have to be coordinated and collated. We agreed, the task force that is, agreed that we would meet once a week. And we've given ourselves, with Michelle's agreement, until the end of October to do our work. Any questions?
Did any one specific person agree to cover any one specific policy or subject? Because, so that we can contact them if we have input.
We sort of discussed that, specifically as it might relate to policies or what have you, in connection with the health center. But in general, I think we agreed that we would all make as many or as few contributions as we could from our own particular perspective. I don't think we didn't formally assign any particular area to any particular person.
Any other questions from the council? That concludes the committee reports. We have still pending is the communications thing from Jason and Burrell. That's being worked on. Okay, for new business, I had down for Larry to update us on the task force. He did that, thank you. And on one of the things that I did talk to Michelle about, and there will be one source of information or one on the renovation project. Is I think she announced and Dave Roberts has announced. There is a task force called Logistics that's working with him to prepare scenarios for when they take parking spaces and start to do digging and stuff like that on the construction. What I've asked for is that there be one source of information, and Michelle said that will be Dave Roberts. He will be the one that will be guiding us through that. And that hopefully there'll be a site where they're gonna move the pub all across from the hostess desk. There'll be a site there for diagrams of what's being done and when it will be done. So if you see something posted on a mailbox or in the doors coming in, that's not what it's gonna be the official information. So all of the rumors and everything that goes on at dining or anywhere else is no good unless you saw it on the bulletin board or from Dave Roberts' mouth. And he will continue to do his weekly. As things get more complicated, I may include for council meetings, like we do with Michelle, have Dave come and also sit and talk with us. So, but until that starts, we've got enough on our platter. Okay. Okay, this is second years. Any inputs from our guests? Thank you for all coming, by the way. I will take a motion to adjourn. I see a nod from Mel. I'll second it. Second from John. Okay. Good going. You're good.
Just.